and by the moon the reaper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy. Listening whispers, 'tis the fairy lady of Shalott. She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily. And little other care hath she, the lady of Shalott.
As a rule, Lance Purusha didn't care about the politics of his marks. He was a professional, and his work was to take them out of this world. The rationale behind his client's desired kills interested him not at all. Something about this target bothered him, however. She was apolitical, a research scientist in medicine, and there was something dirty in the notion of killing her that he quite simply couldn't shake this time. Watching the massive Sunrider make its way down to the luxurious hotels along the shore, he reviewed his info on her, again and again, looking for something she had done that could justify taking her out. There wasn't anything. She had recently been appointed Director of Innocuous Research on Artificial Intelligence and Human-Computer Interfaces. His clients saw all artificial intelligence as a threat. He did not.
Footsteps fade in the empty hall. Shadows creep where the lights won't fall.
Congratulations on your promotion to director. I'll escort you when you are ready, madam, to the welcome committee. Great days indeed.
Really? We are among friends?
Eyes like static scan the dark.
Friends are like the jaws and teeth of a beautiful pet. If you are not careful, you will find them chewing you up.
Time slows, but the weight won't shift. The air breaks as the silence cracks. A split second.
The crowd is watching us.
There's no way back.
grand welcome then. Good to go. A far cry from laboratories and such.
The stars to grace us with her knowledge of scientific progress, this key to the city.
Let me tell you a story. As Lance Perusha watched quietly and grimly about to perform his evil deed, something reflected from one of the other hotels, and Lance's instinct quickly steeled him back from the window. He peered slowly as the source of the reflection's movement and increased magnification. Closer, closer, closer his vision moved to that source, and wonder upon insidious wonder, there was another sniper. It was the second bomb scenario. Either a less expensive backup, in case he missed and bungled the job, or merely some slob to fire wildly at the dignitaries and crowd to mask the importance of the real target. The other sniper was careless, truly reflective surfaces among one's equipment. In a lifetime of random violence, neglect, and abuse since his birth, Lance had never backed away from a fight. This was the first time he was taking the life of someone truly innocent, someone who'd done nothing wrong. And it felt dirty, you know? Even with his hardened heart, shaped by violence, by the chaos of the frontier, this felt ugly, wrong. There was a sickness to it he just couldn't shake. And he knew it couldn't be that clumsy second shooter handling it, messing around with reflective surfaces like an amateur. No, a man's gotta have standards. Well, that thought violated his codes. So Lance took him out and walked away from the job. Of course, he was then a dead man walking, but not that day. When Lance chose not to kill Lourdes, he believed he was showing mercy. He did not realize he had just altered the fate of civilizations. Lourdes survived, and with her survival, a chain of events began that no one in the Arcturian worlds could have foreseen. She traveled beyond the settled systems, into the ancient regions near the galactic core, a place older than any human empire. There she discovered something our historians still struggle to explain: an abandoned installation, built by a civilization that vanished long before humanity ever reached the stars. At her side was Tutu, the officer who had been assigned to her long before this journey began. Somewhere along the long corridors of empire and war, they had fallen in love. For a brief moment in the long history of the galaxy, they found something rare even among the stars: love. But the galaxy does not grant such gifts without consequence. Our records tell us Tutu died there, murdered by a traitor. And in the silence that followed his death, Lourdes would make a choice that would change the destiny of worlds. She sat upon the ancient alien seat which they knew was dangerous, and she was transformed. She completed her mission as the elder Dr. Scalata had sent her, to true human transhumanism. And when she did, the war that would reshape the Pandoran Age truly began. It would take centuries for the cyborg empire to convince itself that peace was permanent. Later generations would name the era the Deneb Pax, as if giving it a title could make it true. Order expanded, borders stabilized, power learned how to rest without loosening its grip. The peace had an architect, Lourdes Cassandra. One will, patient and relentless, guiding humanity forward under the promise that control was safety and unity was survival. Under that design, Deneb 4 grew. But peace does not end because of madness alone. Its first true fracture did not come from raiders or tyrants, or the half-formed ambitions of broken men. It came from refusal, from the Arcturian colonials who turned away from Deneb and moved outward along the Sagittarius arm, building dense, disciplined systems beyond the reach of imperial oversight. They did not reject order, they rejected submission. The Arcturian colonials defined their era more clearly than any society that had come before them. They believed in optimism as a discipline, technology as a moral force, and unrestricted freedom of action and trade as a civic virtue. These were not abstractions to them. They were visible, written into their cities, which rose instead of sprawled, into their economies, which accelerated rather than stagnated, into their daily lives, where freedom was assumed, not negotiated. They achieved this without the suffocating totality of imperial governance and its transhuman overlords, without the endless internal wars of the oligarchies and kingdoms, without the ecstatic brutality of the marauder cult at the galactic core. In a galaxy accustomed to domination or collapse, they represented a third path, prosperity without surrender, order without chains. In retrospect, their achievements have taken on the texture of myth. Their markets moved capital at scales later civilizations would struggle to comprehend. Their logistics anticipated needs before they were articulated. Their infrastructure scaled not through coercion, but through trust, an assumption that rational actors given freedom would choose cooperation over ruin. It is easy now to forget that they were mortal, that they were fragile, that they lived one generation at a time, just as we do. Looking out across the galaxy as it exists today, fragmented, frightened, ruled by systems that no longer pretend to serve the people within them, it is tempting to ask how such a civilization could simply vanish, how the brightest experiment humanity ever conducted could end not in failure, but in annihilation. Once again, it is the Arcturian colonials who step forward on the galactic stage, not as conquerors, not as tyrants, but as the unanswered question history never resolved. Princess Clarissa Maggio. The Arcturian colonials, materialists of the abstract.
There are moments in history when a civilization appears most at peace, just before it begins to forget what made it worth preserving. But history does not announce itself. It begins like this.
Not because it has conquered its struggles, but because it has forgotten them. A choice, a journey, a single departure that no one remembers until it is far too late. They believed they were leaving one ordinary morning behind them, a polished concourse, a boarding call, the quiet obedience of departure. But history had already entered the room, and it was waiting for them at the threshold. Let me tell you a story. Morning dawned lazy, gray, and rainy at the starport as Dylan tossed himself into a window seat and ran sleepy fingers through his hair.
fate.